قولوا آمنا بالله وما أنزل إلينا وما أنزل إلى إبراهيم وإسماعيل وإسحاق ويعقوب والأسباط وما أوتي موسى وعيسى وما أوتي النبيون من ربهم لا نفرق بين أحد منهم ونحن له مسلمون. The verse that I recited from the Quran translates as follows. Say we believe in God and what has been revealed to us and what has been revealed to Abraham, Ishmael, Isaac, Jacob, and his descendants, and what was given to Moses, Jesus, and other prophets from their Lord. May peace be upon them all. We make no distinction between any of them, and it is to him that we wholly submit.
About when I was 21 years old, and I was learning in yeshiva here in Yerushalayim, in the old city, and our dorms for the yeshiva were outside of the Muslim quarters, outside of Shara Prachim, Flowers Gate, and every day we would walk from the dorms through the Flowers Gate or through Damascus Gate to the yeshiva, and through the Muslim quarters to the Christian quarters where the yeshiva was. And this was actually back in 2016 when it was the knife intifada. And almost every day after or before we would pass through one of the gates, there were terrorist attacks. And I started to understand how important it is to understand Arabic and understand what's going on around me, not be disconnected. So I started studying Arabic, and through learning Arabic, I started having conversations with Arabs and Muslims from all over the Middle East. Through apps, language learning apps, I would make a profile that I speak English, I want to learn Arabic. The app would show me all the Arabic speakers who want to learn English. And then I would just speak with people from Gaza, from Jenin, from Shechem, from Jerusalem, Arab Israelis, and also from Lebanon, Syria, Jordan, Egypt, from all over the region, even Saudi Arabia, Dubai, Morocco. It almost became like an obsession. The actually learning the language itself, and also the conversations that just went in such an interesting direction. And I just thought we would have, normal conversations, but it took a very sudden turn whenever I would mention that I'm from Israel or that I'm Jewish, right? Usually it would start when I would say, they would ask me where I'm from, and I would say from Israel. And then the reactions that I would get were, there is no such thing as Israel. It's only, conquered Palestine. So then I would start arguing with them, but then it went much deeper. I never was interested in the political, superficial level of the argument, but I always tried to understand what's the deeper meaning behind this. Why do they think that there is no such thing as Israel? So I would ask, and they would tell me, there is no such thing as Israel. It never existed. What do you mean it never existed? You've never heard of the thousands of years of history that we've had in this land, the kingdom of David and Solomon, and then some of them would laugh at me. For example, one told me, "What do you mean, kingdom of David and Solomon?" What I really started to see was there's kind of this common denominator between all the different people that I spoke to, that they would give me the same reactions that were coming from the same source. So, for example, regarding King David and King Solomon, they would laugh at me and tell me, "But they were Muslim."
King David was
Muslim. King Solomon was Muslim. For example, one girl she's an Arab Israeli from the north near Haifa, and I asked her about the Al-Aqsa Mosque, who built it, and she told me, so there's a hadith, which is basically the oral teachings of Islam. There's a hadith that says that there were multiple prophets that built the Al-Aqsa Mosque. The first was Adam Arishon, right, Adam, and afterwards Abraham, and of course King Solomon. He's even the main character that is that they put, they highlight that he built the Al-Aqsa Mosque. And I said, "What do you mean? What about the Jewish temple?" So there was never a Jewish temple. This is the so-called Jewish temple that you guys are looking for and digging for in Jerusalem. It doesn't exist. But the Al-Aqsa Mosque was built by King Solomon and Abraham and a different girl from Jerusalem. One time I asked her, "Where are you from?" And she said, "I'm from Jerusalem, the capital of Palestine." Even the capital of Palestine, it was never the capital of any Muslim entity that ruled in this land. But whatever, we argued about that. But then she says, "But look, the temple, the mosque, Al-Aqsa Mosque, was built by Abraham, who himself was a Muslim. So this mosque and this land, Jerusalem, it belongs to the Muslims. It doesn't belong to the Jews." This is a question that I asked on TikTok. On one of these videos on TikTok, I wrote a comment, and a bunch of people answered me, a bunch of Muslims, and they said, "You Jews are uneducated. You don't know what Islam is. You think it's a religion." And the truth is that they're correct. We are uneducated about Islam, about Arabic culture, about what they think, how they think, what they view. And this is a reason why I think that we have so many problems with them, and that we need to learn much more about them so that maybe we can solve these problems.
The astonishing story from the ex-Jesuit priest, Alberto Rivera, how the Vatican created Islam, which was told to him by Cardinal B, while he was at the Vatican. After his conversion to Protestant Christianity, Alberto Rivera exposed what he was told by Cardinal B. And this story is excerpted from The Prophet, published by Sheikh Publications in California. Since its publication, after several unsuccessful attempts on his life, he died suddenly from food poisoning. But his story should not be silenced, as it is important to understand. Alberto Rivera went on to say, "What I'm going to tell you is what I learned in secret briefings in the Vatican when I was a Jesuit priest, under oath and induction. A Jesuit cardinal named Augustine B showed us how desperately the Roman Catholics wanted Jerusalem at the end of the 3rd century. Because of its religious history and its strategic location, the holy city was considered a priceless treasure. A scheme had to be developed to make Jerusalem a Roman Catholic city. The great untapped source of manpower that could do this job was the children of Ishmael. Augustine became the Bishop of North Africa, and was effective in winning Arabs to Roman Catholicism, including whole tribes. It was among these Arab converts to Catholicism that the concept of looking for an Arab prophet developed. The Vatican wanted to create a Messiah for the Arabs, someone they could raise up as a great leader, a man with charisma whom they could train, and eventually unite all the non-Catholic Arabs behind him, creating a mighty army that would ultimately capture Jerusalem for the Pope. In the Vatican briefing, Cardinal B told us this story. A wealthy Arabian lady, who was a faithful follower of the Pope, played a tremendous part in this drama. She was a widow named Khadija. She gave her wealth to the church and retired to a convent, but was given an assignment. She was to find a brilliant young man who could be used by the Vatican to create a new religion, and become the Messiah for the children of Ishmael. Khadija had a cousin named Warqa, who was also a very faithful Roman Catholic, and the Vatican placed him in a critical role as Muhammad's advisor. He had tremendous influence on Muhammad. Teachers were sent to young Muhammad, and he had intensive training. Muhammad studied the works of Saint Augustine, which prepared him for his great calling. Some of Muhammad's writings were placed in the Quran, others were never published. They are now in the hands of high-ranking holy men, ayatollahs, in the Islamic faith. When Cardinal B shared with us in the Vatican, he said, "These writings are guarded because they contain information that links the Vatican to the creation of Islam. Both sides have so much information on each other, that if exposed, it could create such a scandal that it would be a disaster for both religions." The Vatican helped to finance the building of these massive Islamic armies in exchange for 3 favors. 1. Eliminate the Jews and Christians, true believers, which they called infidels. 2. Protect the Augustinian monks and Roman Catholics. And 3. Conquer Jerusalem for His Holiness in the Vatican.
Now, who was Muhammad? Muhammad Mustafa was born in 570 AD and he died in 632 AD. He fled to Medina in 622 AD after Khadija's death. Now, who was Khadija? Muhammad married Khadija when he was 25 and she was 40 years old. Her cousin, Warqa, was a Roman Catholic, and she came from a Roman Catholic convent. So we could say she was a Roman Catholic nun. She was super rich. She lived in a convent, and she had the whole of the economy, basically, in her hand. And she employed this young man, Muhammad, whom she then also married. Muhammad marched on Mecca in 630 AD, 2 years before he died and 4 years before Omar became Caliph. And the Quran was compiled in 650 AD. And Muhammad, who couldn't write himself, had a scribe to write down what he saw and what he heard. And the Quran is different, apparently, from all other religious writings because it was a directly dictated book. So it is not just transcribed by a prophet, so they teach, but it is the very word of God, and therefore it must always remain in its original Arabic language. That is what is taught in the Islamic religion. The symbol of Islam is the sickle moon and the star. The star within the sickle moon. Now, where does this symbol come from? And who is Allah? Well, let's go to some interesting quotes, also from encyclopedias of religion and etc. Allah, he was the moon god who married the sun goddess. Together they produced 3 goddesses who were called the daughters of Allah. These 3 goddesses were called Allat, Al-Uzza, and Manat. The Encyclopedia of Religion mentions that Allah is a pre-Islamic name corresponding to the Babylonian Bel. Fascinating. So this is an ancient pagan religion, and Baal or Baal is the deity.
The Canaanites worshipped Baal as the sun god and as the storm god. He is usually depicted holding a lightning bolt, who defeated enemies and produced crops. They also worshipped him as a fertility god who provided children. Baal worship was rooted in sensuality and involved ritualistic prostitution in the temples. At times, appeasing Baal required human sacrifice. At times, appeasing Baal required human sacrifice. At times, appeasing Baal required human sacrifice.
احنا عم نقاتل عن ارضنا وشعبنا ومقدساتنا، واحنا مش خايفين. نقاتل مدبرين، نستشهد مدبرين. بخاف من الاسر وبخاف يموت. الاسرائيلي معروف عنه انه بحب الحياه. احنا بنضحي، نعتبر انه قتلانا شهداء. فامنا يعني اهم امنيه عند اي واحد فلسطيني انه يستشهد في سبيل الله. يعني لا
because there's a bunch of devil worshippers in Hollywood. And there's a lot of black folks too. And they be throwing up them signs. You see them, this, that, all of them. Watch the rappers, watch them folks. It's scary. It's very scary. That devil is real. That devil is real. That devil is real.
حماس عملت غزتين، غزة اللي فوق اللي نعرفها وغزة تحت أنفاق. ما فكرتش تعمل ملجأ واحد آلاف الكيلوات من أنفاق، وأدخل هذا التنظيم إنه يعمل للشعب الفلسطيني ملجأ واحد. 16 سنة دخلت الشعب الفلسطيني 7-8 حروب، ما عملتلهمش ملجأ تنجي الأسر وتنجي الأطفال من موت محقق. يبقى مين اللي مجرم في حق الشعب الفلسطيني؟
Real Satanists, the hardcore Satanists, are involved in criminal activity, and for that reason they are going to try and look as normal as possible, the better to be able to deceive you. There are doctors, there are lawyers, there are teachers, there are oftentimes people who are in positions of great influence over small children.
Priests, ministers, doctors, police officers, judges, businessmen, oilmen, teenagers are all linked together for one purpose: to sacrifice whatever they want to Satan.
It would be a whole lot easier if these people wore, had horns and a pitchfork and a red suit, but they just don't. They could be your next door neighbor.
I know when I was involved in the Church of Satan, they were very proud of the fact that there was not a single military installation in the world that did not have an outpost of avowed Satanists. Satanists are drawn to the military because of the idea of war and death. You see, they view war as one gigantic human sacrifice. They view war as one gigantic human sacrifice. They view war as one gigantic human sacrifice.
So this is an ancient pagan religion, and Baal or Baal is the deity.
At times, appeasing Baal required human sacrifice.
They view war as one gigantic human sacrifice.
Dear sister, nations are not easily liberated. The Russians sacrificed 30 million people in World War II in order to liberate it from Hitler's attack. The Vietnamese sacrificed 3.5 million people until they defeated the Americans. Afghanistan sacrificed millions of martyrs to defeat the USSR and then the US. The Algerian people sacrificed 6 million martyrs over 130 years. The Palestinian people are just like any other nation. No nation is liberated without sacrifices.
No nation is liberated without sacrifices. Not exactly an expression of regret for innocent Palestinian deaths.
Hamas's Gaza leader, Yahya Sinwar, has described the deaths of Gaza civilians as a, quote, necessary sacrifice to free Palestine.
لا أقول تستصرخكم، بل نحن الذين نحتاج هذه الدماء لكي توقظ فينا روح الثورة، لكي توقظ فينا العناد، لكي توقظ فينا التحدي والسير إلى الأمام.
Baal's priests worshipped their deity with riotous rites that featured ecstatic shouts and self-inflicted harm. 1 Kings, chapter 18, verse 28. So the prophets prayed louder and cut themselves with knives and daggers, according to their ritual, until blood flowed. And cut themselves with knives and daggers, according to their ritual, until blood flowed.
لا أقول تستصرخكم، بل نحن الذين نحتاج هذه الدماء. حركة حماس ستقود الانتفاضة تلو الانتفاضة. نعشق الموت كما يعشق أعداؤنا الحياة. المرأة الحمزاوية في غزة، المرأة الفلسطينية تقول بأن دماءنا فداء للمسجد الأقصى، وأننا سنهدي للمسجد الأقصى الدم وسنعبد الطريق بالأسلاح إلى أن نحرره زاحفين بإذن الله عز وجل. فإن هذه المسيرة النسائية إنما جاءت اليوم من مساجد غزة وشمالها لتؤكد على رسالة واحدة، وأن بوصلة حماس ووجهتها واضحة لا غبش فيها ولا لبس فيها، أن فلسطين كل فلسطين، وأن القدس كل القدس بغربيها قبل شرقيها، بفلسطين بكل تربتها، بكل جزئية فيها هي ملك للشعب الفلسطيني، وأن بندقية القسام وأن استعداد المرأة المجاهدة لتقاتل في سبيل الله ولتفدي الأقصى والقدس بأبنائها هو استعداد لا نحيد عنه ولا نقيل عنه ولن نستقيل عنه. في يوم الجمعة القادم بإذن الله في يوم الأرض سيأتي المتضامنون من كل أصقاع الأرض، من كل قاراتها، من معظم دول العالم، من أبناء أمتنا وأبناء شعبنا المشتتين ومن المتضامنين في كل الدنيا، سيأتون هنا إما إلى فلسطين أو على حدودها في دول الطوق، في مصر والأردن ولبنان وسوريا، وهنا في غزة التي ستثور وتنتفض نصرة للقدس وللأقصى بإذن الله عز وجل، في مسيرة نغبر فيها أقدامنا في سبيل الله عز وجل، وفي هبة وثورة تقول لهذا العدو لا مقام لك فوق أرضنا.
Under Warqa's direction, Muhammad wrote that Abraham offered Ishmael as a sacrifice. The Bible says that Isaac was the sacrifice, but Muhammad removed Isaac's name and inserted Ishmael's name. As a result of this and Muhammad's vision, the faithful Muslims built a mosque, the Dome of the Rock, in Ishmael's honor on the site of the Jewish temple that was destroyed in 70 AD. This made Jerusalem the second most holy place in the Islam faith. The Vatican also engineers a campaign of hatred between the Muslim Arabs and the Jews. Before this, they had coexisted peacefully.
The M is the sigma on its side, and it's the symbol that is used by the occult world. Masonry, Freemasonry, uses the M as well as one of its chief identifying features. Right, here you have the apron, and the apron has various symbols on it, and of course, hidden in here, there is the mystic letter M. You know, the Jesuits created who? Freemasonry to do the work. And they banned Freemasonry, and if something happens, they say, oh, it wasn't us, it was Freemasons. Isn't that right? Or they blame the Jews. No, it's not us who rule the world, it's the Jews, it's them, it's Zionism. But in actual fact, it's Catholicism. The Reformation had fingered Rome as the Antichrist. Now, if the Reformation fingers Rome as the Antichrist, any move that seems to emanate from Rome will be looked at with what? Suspicion. So why not destroy the papacy, apparently, and then resurrect it and at the same time purge it of everything that is contra, and then resurrect it as a final power in complete control of these organizations. Does that make any sense? That would be a neat trick. And then anything that happened thereafter with the weak little papacy over there would be disregarded. It cannot be from them. It must come from elsewhere. That is how secret societies work. They walk behind fronts, behind fronts, behind fronts.
This is the Pope calling Israel an army of terrorists.
Molto gravi e dolorose. Civili inermi sono oggetto di bombardamenti e spari. E questo è avvenuto persino all'interno del complesso parrocchiale della Santa Famiglia, dove non ci sono terroristi, ma famiglie, bambini, persone malate con disabilità.
Yeah, they are killing the bambino, the bambine, the bambine, the Israelis are killing the bambine. So this filthy man, he have no problem, he have no complaint. He did not mention the bambines of the Jews. But now, Hamas, they are shooting missiles from the backyard of a church, and then the Israelis shoot back and some Christians die. Who we blame? The IDF. I bet you that the letter he is reading is written by Hamas. And he made it clear that the IDF is an army of terrorists. The IDF sniper is shooting babies.
Civili inermi sono
unarmed civilian, unarmed. Those are unarmed.
oggetto di bombardamenti e spari. E questo è avvenuto persino all'interno del complesso parrocchiale della Santa Famiglia, dove non ci sono terroristi, ma famiglie, bambini, persone malate con disabilità, suore. Una mamma e sua figlia, la signora Navda Khalil Anton e la figlia Samar Omar.
Shouldn't you say those are killed by Hamas, you coward? Shouldn't you say who is the reason? What if the rockets are coming in the top of your head? Aren't you going to ask the Italian army to respond? Or you will say turn the other cheek? You can watch the video is there, and he made it clear. He said, the Israeli army are terrorists.
Anton sono state uccise e altre persone ferite dai tiratori.
The IDF sniper, he killed the person when he is going to the bathroom. To the bathroom, imagine. This is the Pope. Are you spreading hate or you are spreading love? What happened? When it's come to Israel, we say anything will make them ugly. When it's come to Muhammad, we will say anything to make Islam look so good. The Muslims killing Christians in Nigeria, we did not hear him saying anything. Islam is religion of terrorism. Christians in Armenia, who care, who care, right? But he is so much in defense of the Muslims in Gaza. He is so truthful, man. The Israelis, they are shooting people when they are going to the bathroom. I wonder why they are going to the bathroom. Is your picture there?
Mentre andavano in bagno. È stata danneggiata la casa delle suore di Madre Teresa.
The building of Mother Teresa was damaged? No way. Are you sure? This is the most important building in Gaza. A building owned by Mother Teresa. I mean, do you see how silly, how stupid he is? But anyway, I'm not going to play all the video, even though it's so short. This man, he's just disgusting.
Multi-millions of people have been slaughtered by the Vatican. Thus saith the Lord. Revelation 18:24. History bears record to this fact. During the Roman Catholic Inquisition in Europe, 68 million people were tortured, maimed, and murdered by this huge sect. The St. Bartholomew's Day Massacre accounted for the butchering of as many as 100,000 Protestants. Abraham Lincoln blamed the papacy for the Civil War in these words: "This war would never have been possible without the sinister and secretive influence of the Jesuits. We owe it to Popery that we now see our land reddened with the blood of her noblest sons." Lincoln added, "I am for liberty of conscience in its noblest, broadest, and highest sense. But I cannot give liberty of conscience to the Pope and to his followers, the Papists, so long as they tell me through their councils, theologians, and canon laws that their conscience orders them to burn my wife, strangle my children, and cut my throat when they find the opportunity." Because of Abraham Lincoln's many exposés of the Vatican, he was put to death, just as he foretold. Yes, assassinated by the Jesuits under Rome's instructions. The Vatican hasn't changed since Mr. Lincoln's time.
The secrets of Freemasonry fair for all to read and see, but few there are to whom they're known, though they so plainly here are shown. So this is a language that you have to learn. They created this language because God confused the languages, so they created a language in symbolism that God would not be able to confuse in future. That's their logic. So symbolism is a Masonic language. Today, people tell me, but the symbols are everywhere. Hello, what does that tell you? Who's in control? Everywhere. We read in Morals and Dogma, page 451, the Arabian word Aldebaran means the foremost or leading star, and it could only have been so named when it did precede or lead all others. The year then opened with the sun in Taurus and the multitude of ancient sculptures, both in Assyria and Egypt, wherein the bull appears with lunette, or crescent horns, and the disk of the sun between them, are direct allusions to important festivals of the first new moon of the year, and there was everywhere an annual celebration of the festival of the first new moon when the year opened with Sol, the sun, and Luna, the moon, in Taurus, and the symbol of Taurus is that one over there. The crescent and disk combined always represent the conjunctive sun and moon. That means basically the male-female deity. Adoration of the celestial cow, Mehet Veret, there's the all-seeing eye, the eye of Osiris, Here are the horns, there is the disc in the horns, and it also represented the plunging of the sun god into the womb of the mother to be born by Isis. So the horns are also a representation of the moon, the sickle moon. So in later religions, or from Babylon itself, Assyrian style, there you have the half moon with a solar disk in it. And the same over here, enlarged. Note that this is Baal Hadad, the birth of the sun. If we go to Mesopotamia, we'll find the old symbol of Baal and Bel was exactly the same, the half moon and the star in it, representing the birth of the sun. Isis and Osiris, the male-female aspect. So this would be Ashtoreth and Tammuz, or Isis and Horus, the male-female. The same you find in Egyptian, as we have already discussed it. This is Baal worship. This is Lucifer worship in his male-female form. And the initiates of this religion, as we saw in Morals and Dogma, were the insiders, like Origen, for example, and the Bishop of Alexandria. These were the initiates who harbored the ancient religion. And they were Christian, so-called, but of course they were not Christian. They just propagated that for the Goyim, Catholicism. True Christianity, they fought tooth and nail and tried to eradicate, and they tried to eradicate the Word of God, as we saw, by changing it. Now, Islam arrives on the scene way after that. So the true harborers were in Christianity before they were in Islam, and they were in two places, Alexandria and Rome. Alexandria was eventually taken over by Christianity, and the bastion, the great library, was destroyed, and the final seat of the occult knowledge was in Rome. So Rome is the seat of the ancient occult knowledge before Islam even appeared on the scene. That is the fact. The Islamic all-seeing eye, this is a very prominent structure that is used in all of Islam, and you will not find a taxi cab anywhere in the Islamic countries that will not have the all-seeing eye there as a protection. Of course, it's used in Catholicism as well, and it's on the US dollar. Looking at this symbol, you have the all-seeing eye of Lucifer. Is of course the eye of Hathor, the eye of Osiris, on an Egyptian temple. There it is, on a Roman Catholic pulpit. Another one on a Roman Catholic cathedral. Masonic author Carl Claudy writes, this is one of the oldest and most widespread symbols denoting God. We find it in Egypt, in India. The open eye of Egypt represents Osiris. In India, Shiva is represented by an eye. And the Encyclopedia of Freemasonry says the all-seeing eye is an important symbol of the supreme being borrowed by Freemasonry from antiquity. On the same principle, the Egyptian represented Osiris. So, Islam uses the symbol, Catholicism uses the symbol. I'm just showing you some comparisons. To the ancient Egyptians, the right eye symbolized the sun, the left eye the moon. So there you have, again, the two aspects of the sun god. Bailey then goes on to mention, this is Alice A. Bailey, that the eye of God is Shiva or Siva, the destroyer. Remember, Shiva is the Indian god who is the equivalent of Osiris. Shiva is also a synonym for Satan. Is it possible that both religions in the inner circle worship the same Lucifer, but that the outer court knows nothing about this? So we have all the evidence that they know exactly what they're doing. There is no contradiction here, for Set is the Egyptian devil and Shiva is the Indian god of destruction. Both names, Set and Shiva, are listed in the Satanic Bible as another name for Satan. And Elena Petrovna Blavatsky affirms, now we have to remember that Shiva, Palestinian Baal or Moloch, and Saturn are identical. Is it possible that both religions serve the same master behind the scenes and that the masses are deceived, just like in Catholicism? Beautiful people who are kept ignorant.
As the Beatles were bigger than Jesus, Marilyn Manson is bigger than Satan. Marilyn Manson is bigger than Satan.
No, we have the truth on our side. The truth is on our side.